My speech is going to be about being homeless in today's society. General purpose is to inform. Specific purpose to give awareness to the people and how they survive in the big cities as being homeless. The definition of homeless is to be a person without a home and therefore typically living on the streets. Many of the homeless people sleep on people's couches for a while until they gradually become homeless. In today's society, it is very difficult to get a good paying job, and that makes it an easier way to become homeless when you can't get a job to support yourself or your family. Usually people do become homeless from factors such as social and economic. You might get a bad illness or miss the date of rent, and that can lead to conviction. The homeless survive in any way that they possibly can. Therefore, finding a place to sleep at night is one of the main struggles for them. There are many laws that are forbidding people from being able to create temporary shelters outside, and people go and they harass them, as well as the police. They go and they harass them at any time of the night because it's a law, so they are allowed to do so. You would think homeless shelters would be the next option and a safe place for them to stay at night, but it's actually the opposite. There's a lot of people that have serious illnesses and drug addictions, and most of the homeless know that this would not be a smart facility to stay at. The bad diseases there can spread like a wildflower when everybody is that close together. The reason for being homeless varies. You cannot say that all homeless people are homeless for the same reason. The first number one reason is substance abuse. This is what everybody thinks of everybody on the streets. Oh, they must be addicted to drugs. Therefore, some of that is true. A majority of the homeless have drug and alcohol addictions. There's also women and men who come from abusive relationships, and that is their only way out, is to live on the streets. Veterans become homeless as well because of the relationships that they do not have a connection with people after coming back from the war. Veterans are 50% more likely than any other American to become homeless due to poverty. And the amount of support, dismissal living conditions, and overcrowded or substandard housing. People believe drugs are the only reason for people to become homeless. I learned a story about a man named David Pirtle, who was raised a middle-class family, and he moved to Arizona, and then he started to create a business for himself, and he was making pretty good money. He became a restaurant manager for the next 15 years of his life. Later down the road, David found out that he was having hallucinations, and he got schizophrenia. Once it got much worse, he lost his job, and he began to hitchhike across the country, and he ended up in Washington, D.C. People were so rude to him, and they would throw rocks at him and just treat him very, very wrong. So he started to shoplift so he could survive and stay alive. They said that if he didn't start taking medication for his disease, then he was going to have to go to jail for a time. So he started taking the medication, and right now he has a job and he works for Washington, D.C. to fight the rights of homeless. Another story is about a man. He started to live on the streets due to physical abuse in his family, and he suffered every day at home, so he thought the only way out was to live on the streets. He turned to drugs to cope with the way he felt and what was going on in his life. And this is a story where eventually he turned his life around and he stopped doing heroin and stopped doing drugs. But he did live on the streets for a while. The reasons for becoming homeless just vary. Food and water is what keeps you alive. Without it, nobody would be here. When you are homeless, you do not have the options to store food long term, so you must hide them in your coats or your pockets or anywhere like that. You can't carry around tons of groceries all day long, and it is very good also if you have food that's going to last a long time and not get stale. Dried food is the lightest and easiest food that you can eat while you're homeless. The winters are rough for the homeless who live in cold areas such as Canada and Europe. Hundreds of people die because they don't have a warning of how cold it's about to be. Also, transportation. Most people, they just walk because anything else costs money, so walking is their transportation. This topic is important and it should be talked about in the world. It's going around everywhere in the world. In the year of 2013, 610,042 people were living homeless on the streets. About 65% of them lived in emergency shelters, with the other 35% were living in unsheltered locations. This is happening all over our world today in many countries. There is 100 million homeless worldwide. Over the years 2007 to 2013, being homeless has declined in our world. Thank you.